Welcome back, guys. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Here we are, episode I've lost count. But today
You got dressed up today.
Yeah, I like my casual get up. It's a little bit cold in Melbourne, but we have another female guest today, which we're very excited.
Two in a row now.
Two in a row. How cool is that? Well, look, you guys know Kasey. I don't. I'm looking forward to hearing your story, but I'd love to always welcome Kasey Casal to Someone You Should Meet. Thank you for being here. I'm very excited to hear your story.
Thanks, Kasey.
And the boys know you, and I think we're going to dive into why you are someone you should meet. So, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, guys.
It's
Thanks
our
for
pleasure.
joining.
I'll start.
You will, yes.
I feel like I'm bossy when I start these things all the time. Kasey, can we go through your journey? For those that don't know you, you've written 2 books, an Amazon bestseller as well. You were a teen mum. You grew up in, I don't want to say the ghettos, but the ghettos, to traveling the world, living overseas, having your own successful businesses, helping some amazing, massive financial companies build from scratch and do all the recruitment. So where do we start with this?
Where do we start? So I think we should start from the very beginning of my journey, I guess.
Birth.
Birth.
Day one.
I don't think she remembers that.
Yeah, but no one can ever ask me my age because that's very rude.
But you're Asian, so it's...
I'm Asian, so we don't praise them.
You don't age. Lucky.
Yeah,
But teen mum.
Is that where you start? Is that where you want to start? Like from?
So I mean, I grew up with my mum. She was a single mum, so I think the reason why I have a lot of grit is because she was a single mum, came from Philippines. Both of my parents migrated here, as probably your parents did too, Rex.
They did.
So first generation immigrants. And my mum was, she was coming up the ranks in Philippines. So she was actually the head of HR of a big bank. Bank of Philippines. And then my mum was very, very well educated. She was like from University of Philippines, did Bachelor of Psychology, and in no way, shape or form did I replicate her life story, but I kind of did by default, but maybe subconsciously. But she was a single mum. She migrated here. So my dad met her at a party, as you do back in those days. And she was on visa here. And then she said, I have to go back to Philippines after 3 months. And then he was like, no, you should stay here. So she's like, maybe we should get married and have a baby. So my mom basically pigeonholed him into having a baby.
Wow.
So I'm a visa baby.
You're a visa baby.
So that was the conception
Green
of
card
Kasey
baby.
Casal.
Beautiful.
So I guess that's how that started. But so my mom...
How old were you when they broke up?
Very young. So it was probably when I was just in kindergarten. Okay. So I think the fact that my parents broke up pretty young and I saw my mum do everything herself, that kind of gave me grit, growing up. And because when I was a teen mum, like I was with, Daniel, my baby daddy. Yeah. But like when we got pregnant, like, I know some people, they probably might have aborted it too young, whatever. But I was just like, no, I'm ready. Because I just seen my mum do it. And I was like, I can do this. It's easy.
So how old was your mum when she had you?
So my mum was actually older. So she was a bit of a cougar. My dad was like 22 and my mum was 28.
Okay.
So, back then too.
Yeah. So, but very hardworking woman.
Sounds like you got a lot of respect for her.
So much respect for her.
Was it hard growing up? Like, you don't have siblings, so...
I do.
But they're half siblings. They're not,
so I was like the middle. So both my parents have siblings from either side. Yeah. But like I kind of just raised myself, and it wasn't like my mum was a great mum, but as you know, like back in those days, it's like the 9-to-5 grind was the norm. You
work hard.
You work hard, and like for her, she's like, I came from Philippines, and she started off in the factory here, working in the Tupperware factory because her degree wasn't recognised. So I saw her like move from that to go into the bank, like work in GE Money, work in the big banks. Like.
What age did you get pregnant?
16.
16. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and then.
Was it a tough decision to keep it?
I think
keep
so.
Him?
Yeah. I think. No, well,
What about
it
school?
wasn't.
Like, did
No,
it affect
it
school?
wasn't really tough. So I know this is really stupid to say. I must have missed like sex ed because I did not know how to conceive babies, and that if you don't wear protection, you get pregnant. And then so
Come on, Fang.
yeah, and then so one day
Call him out. Come on, Fang.
he was my first boyfriend, yeah. So and then I was like, I think I have a worm in my stomach. He's like, what the hell? He's like, you got to.
You didn't know, but I reckon he knew.
Yeah, well, he probably knew. And then I said, let's go to the doctor. And then I told the doctor, I think I have a worm in my stomach. And then the doctor was like, can you pee in this cup? I was like, okay.
And that was
And
it.
then he came back and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, you're pregnant. I was like, oh, that's okay. Maybe we could just go to the clinic. Can you give us like a referral? And then he's like, oh, no, sorry, you're having the baby in 3.5 months. You're 6 months pregnant. And I was like,
Whoa.
What?
what the hell?
Jeez.
Yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, my mom's gonna beat the shit out of me. Because
Was it the
came here-
shock of like her being like pissed off, or was it just like overwhelming for you?
No, it wasn't that. Like I was at that point when I did get pregnant, I had already been expelled from 3 high schools. I was dealing drugs.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
So you're
Like,
independent.
when Rex said ghetto, I mean ghetto,
Right.
like Cabramatta ghetto.
Wow.
So that's all I knew, you know.
Which
that's-
area?
Yeah, but I was
Parramatta.
an entrepreneur
Sydney.
at
Sydney.
14.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I can't work like, you know, a 9 to 5 job. I can't work I was too young to work. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to sell some stuff at school and see how it goes.
What sort
There
of
you go.
stuff?
I just
No,
weed.
you'd answer that.
Yeah.
No, it was just weed.
Disclaimer: we do not endorse.
It was just weed. But I think that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey because I was like,
Can we venture forward a little bit because your entrepreneurial journey is not weed. You haven't.
it's not weed.
you haven't gone to like do
But I
anything.
might add as well that my government name, my real name is Griselda.
Okay.
So I was
Griselda,
named
okay.
after Griselda Blanco. But yeah.
Were you
so-
actually named after her?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
So, but my name is with a K.
yeah.
So-
But you ventured away. You went to corporate world after.
I did, and
After
that was
drug dealing.
coming back to my mum. So that's why I wanted to give context about my mum and
Yep.
the bank and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Because my mum, because when I got pregnant, she was like, I can't believe this. I came here, you know, worked in the Tupperware factory, worked my way up in, you know, was on the phones because she was in fraud. Like she was calling up people, doing 80 calls a day. And she's like, I did all of this just for you to be a teen mum. And then I was like, fuck. I have to
Yeah.
do something, you know, like.
Yeah.
So after, when I got pregnant, the funniest thing was, even though I got expelled from 3 high schools, my mum shipped me off to Melbourne because she was like, I don't know what to do with you anymore in Sydney. So
Yeah.
she sent me to Craigieburn to my aunties.
Craigieburn,
Wow.
what a spot.
Yeah, and then
From
I was
one
like,
hood to the other. So,
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a different type of hood. This is
Yeah.
Aussie Bogan hood
yeah.
back then. And yeah, so I
And
went to
Your
Penola,
baby daddy was back in,
Box Hill.
In Melbourne.
but in,
He was
so he
Melbourne.
was in Melbourne. But you were in Sydney when you conceived.
No, I was
Okay.
in Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah, so after I got expelled from the 3 high schools, my
Oh.
mum
She
shipped
shipped
me
you
out.
down,
she
yeah.
She's
shipped
like,
you
I don't
here.
know what to do with you. I'm just going to send you to your auntie's house.
And so
Yeah.
you became a teen mum instead. And
Yeah.
a drug dealer.
Yeah, and then at that time I was,
Was
like,
it a form
okay,
of
right.
rebelling, or
I don't know. It wasn't. I think I was just lonely. And at that time, because my mum kind of, like, she didn't abandon me. She just didn't know what to do with me. So, you know, and I was a bit of a troublemaker. And then my auntie was like, look, I'll take her. She can be with her cousins. Maybe that's what she needs, you know. And then, so when I met baby daddy, he was like, let's hang out every day and, you know, play CS. And he was a gamer at the time.
CS.
Counter-Strike?
Counter-Strike. Oh my God.
Throwback.
Yeah. So I met him online and then we just started hanging out. And I think at
You
that
met
time,
online.
But you made it online.
Yeah.
On
Like
what,
playing
Counter-Strike?
back then it was Merc. So we used to have Merc and MSN, which is like
MSN,
the
yeah.
The
Instagram.
chat.
Yeah, it's chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, it was all coding and everything. And back then I was like, I want to be a hacker. And then I ended up being a banker.
Complete opposite.
Yeah, I know. And then, yeah, so I think for me, it wasn't rebellion. It was more like having somewhat like a sense of belonging. Because when I was with him, we were together every day. He was almost like my best friend. Do you
Yeah.
get what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think like when you're young and you feel like, okay, like I don't know where I belong, like I was kind of like lost. And, like we had all our friends and stuff. So that was a sense of belonging for me.
Was he a bit older than you or similar age?
He was like 20 at the time, and I
Okay,
was
so it's
16.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
then
don't know if that's even legal, but
yeah.
Well, I don't know why
I don't think it is. but that's okay.
16 and it's consensual. I don't know. I'm sure,
No,
you know.
it's a
Yeah.
two-year
Is that
gap
legal?
difference.
You're the lawyer.
Well, you're the lawyer. You should know. You know.
That's okay.
Yeah.
We won't get him locked up. You can have that against him, though.
Yeah.
Can
So,
we
but,
fast forward to your corporate world? From teen mum, drug dealer, teen mum.
The young Griselda.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I followed her footsteps. She was a teen mom, and she was, but I went the good way. Like
Well,
I-
have you?
I cleaned
So
up.
what was?
Yeah, clean the act.
How did you go from being a
So-
teen mum to corporate world
So
after
the
going through 3
defining
different high
moment
schools?
was when my mum was crying to me and she was like, I can't believe this, blah, blah, blah. So I straightened my shit up and then I was like, right, I'm going to get the best marks in school. And while I was pregnant, I actually became the dux of my high school.
Wow.
So, because I was very gifted at a young age and I was always like acing everything. And then, I got like everything was top marks in that entire grade. So, and I went to high school until I was 8.5 months pregnant.
Wow.
And then I didn't really give a shit. All my friends were guys, so they didn't really talk. And it was good. Like,
Did you graduate?
I graduated as dux, yes. But in the intermediary,
The interim?
in the interim, so I took a year off, and then I came back to do year 12. So I had my son year 11, came back to do year 12, and then we had a car accident, me and my baby daddy, and he just got a Beamer, and
Yeah.
he just thought he was a 6C,
Yeah.
driving everywhere.
Typical
Yeah.
thing.
And
Typical.
Chap
so
laps?
on my 18th birthday, I was actually in crutches.
Oh.
Luckily, my son was not in the car because otherwise he would have just died on impact.
Wow.
Oh.
So, at that time, I was like, okay, like I've been.
Was it a
teen-
serious accident? Like, did you have to go to hospital? Did you?
I did. I was in a coma
Oh.
for 2
Oh.
months, and I spent my
2 months?
Wow.
Yeah. And my
What?
brother had open heart surgery, so he was in a coma for a couple of months, and it was on his 11th birthday. My
Was
younger
he in the
brother.
car, or
he
this
was in
is-
the car? Yeah.
Wow.
So if I was on his side, the doctor said I would have died on impact because I
Wow.
was
Shit.
So the fact that I was
How did
by
you go
God's-
recovering from that? Like coma
Well,
for
see-
2 months, baby mum.
I feel
teenage
like
mum.
I think this is
Drug
what
dealer.
had taught me. I think
The drugs helped.
Because when I grew up, it was kind of like you're in survival mode, And for me, it's like every bad thing that happened, I didn't really play victim. I was like, okay, like God saved me for a reason, so there must be some reason. So every like misfortune that happened, I just developed grit. Do you get what I mean? So after that happened, I spent.
But
my
your
18
mindset towards that, a lot of people play victim mentality and, poor me, but it's,
Yeah. So for me, I didn't know it at the time, but I think I did adopt like a growth mindset because for me, I was like, okay, if I can just work on myself, then I can make it out of the hood. And then after I made it out of the hood, I was like, okay, if I can just sharpen my skills and my academics, I can get a good corporate job. And then I got a good corporate job in Big Bank. My first job ever was like my mum got me into GE and CBA. So I was working in big corporate, like straight off the bat, So like for me, it was just always, okay, what's the next step ahead? What's the next step ahead? And I didn't really think of anything at the time, but I just wanted to kind of just make it for myself.
How long were you in big corporates for?
So before I went off on my own, I was for over a decade. So I started my career in CBA. So this is why I have my headhunting firm now. So I was always in big bank, and I was dealing with brokers and loans, home loans at a very
Back then,
young
there
age,
wasn't
18.
much brokers or anything.
No, it wasn't.
really.
So I was in the
Different
broker channel. So I was the first point of contact, and I would punch out 80 to 100 calls a day. I was the top performer. And I feel like for me, I was always like, I just was very competitive. So I was like, whatever the KPIs are in like thing, I'm going to 10x it. So the average.
What drove you to get that competitive nature? Like, why?
I reckon it's the word grit. You've sped that word quite a bit. I think it's...
Yeah, and I think because my mum was she was a tiger mum and she was a top performer. She was, Bank of Philippines, and I always felt like I have to measure up to what her standard is. Do you get what I mean? Like in Asian culture, it's like that. Asians will like literally study and just not eat. you know, forever.
Yeah.
And for me, I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder because I'd been expelled, because I had a baby. I felt like I had more to prove. Do you
Do
get
you
what I
think
mean?
you were trying to get her acceptance?
Approval.
Yeah.
Approval,
Definitely.
yeah.
I think so. I think so at that time. And also my stepdad, he was a big bank manager. So I was like, you know, and he was always comparing me to my stepbrothers.
Oh.
They were in, my eldest brother is a professional basketball player. He's retired now. He was in Philippines PBA. They were like...
Can I add,
all
Manny
gifted.
Pacquiao was her brother's best man?
Best man.
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
Manny. So I think because I come from such a highly performing and academic family, I was like...
You knew no different.
Yeah, I was like, there's nothing... Like my stepdad was like, oh, your brothers are in like a selective school. What the hell are you doing with your life? And I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
You know, so I kind of always had that chip on my shoulder that I had to prove something. But then it kind of turned into, I don't want to prove anything to anyone. I just kind of want to level up. So I kind of gamified my life in a like a subconscious way, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I just want to get to the next level and then the next level. Like I wasn't really thinking consciously about it at the time.
But then there was something that changed from my understanding, like the Phoenix part of your life. Can we
Yeah.
delve into the Phoenix part and the stories and what that all means and represents?
yeah, so
What is Phoenix?
that is, yeah, so that is my daughter's name, my daughter's middle name, and I had adopted that as my middle name. Because,
Phoenix is someone coming out from the ashes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
and
is
then-
Phoenix a company you started or a
No,
No,
someone you
that's
started, or
my
just-
alias now. Like
okay.
on social media, it's always been like that was my pen name.
But it's your book is...
That's my pen name. My pen name
Yeah.
is so before I didn't like. I always used to hide my intelligence, and I actually don't know why. Like Rex
Still
was
do
always,
sometimes.
always saying this, and I was like, oh well, because there's no one being like me. Do you get what I mean? Like I'm not a J.K. Rowling, but I've written 23 books.
But who's to say you're not?
Yeah, so that's when
And
I started.
JK was not known until
Exactly.
one of them went
Yeah,
took
and
off.
she was a single mum too, coming up from
100%.
the traps, and
Yeah.
she just was like, you know, got these downloads.
There's a Phoenix
and,
in Harry Potter.
There is a
I
Phoenix
know,
in Harry
is.
Potter.
and it's crazy.
There
Yeah.
is.
So when I was pregnant, I was going through my separation with my second baby daddy. We were together after I had my son. So I moved to Sydney.
Yeah.
Fang and I still remain very good friends, as you know. I just FaceTimed him.
Yeah.
But when I moved to Sydney, the reason I did that was because I felt like my first baby daddy was not ready. He was
Yeah.
still in uni.
How old were you at this point
I was 16, turning 17
when
I
you
just
moved
had.
back to Sydney?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I moved back with a baby and a suitcase, and that's it, and $7,000 in my bank account. That's it. And then I was like, look, I need to go back to Sydney because Sydney's my home. Like I just moved to Melbourne because my mum pushed me
Forced you
here.
here.
Yeah, but like I'm a Cabra girl. Like this is my home. Like I moved back in with my dad, and then so we moved into housing. Like he had a housing commission, and it was right next to my grandma's place in Cabra. And he said, look, I don't have much, but, you know, like, come live with me and you can start your life here, like, with your son, and we can be a family. And that was an opportunity for me to get to know my dad because I grew up without my dad. I didn't know him until I was 17. So when he opened up his door to me, I was like, okay, of course I want to move in with
That's
you.
really nice.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And so my dad he didn't come from much. He was a truck driver his whole life. But he was like my best friend, you know, like in those years, like he was like the father figure for my son. He would change nappies and everything with me, you know, and he always encouraged me. Like he knew I was so intelligent, and he was banking on me actually to get us out of
Yeah.
Yeah.
out of Cabramatta,
Yeah.
you know. And then every day he'd always be like, "Anak, you need to, or Miha," like he called me Miha or Anak, which means my love, my child. And he'd be like, I know your dream is to go to uni. He said, like, let me take care of, you know, Geordie, and you do what you need to do. I just want you to make it, you know. So I kind of felt like I needed to do that for my family too, you know, because my dad was banking on me, like, really just to make it out of the hood, you know, because back then it was like we lived like behind a dumpster. It was a housing commission. I think we paid like $180 a week, and we got
Wow.
rent assistance from Centrelink, you know. So it was, it was something that I really felt like I needed to accomplish and achieve, not just for my son, but for my family. So when I,
Can we fast forward to after corporate world, before you set up your first business, and this the Phoenix part, what I was hoping to delve into is your books more so, and what inspired you to write this book and what the books are about. Because I think Jesse has no idea.
Yeah.
How many books
I'm
did
looking
you
for
say?
new books.
Yeah. So the very, very first book that I ever wrote was on my spiritual awakening. And that was during the course of my separation with my baby daddy.
Yeah.
I was with him for 12 years.
And can you delve into what this spiritual awakening is for you?
For me, I think because I went through so much near-death experiences and I went through so much trauma, and I kind of always
young age
internalized
too.
it. Yeah. And I never really kind of synthesized it until I broke up with, like my partner at the time. And at that time, we built a beautiful life. Like we bought our first house when we were 19, white picket fence life, and then everything turned to shit. And I was like, well, how can this happen? Because I went up the ranks. I got my corporate job. What everyone says you have to do your 9 to 5, get your corporate job, buy a house at this age, white picket fence, I tried to do all of that right, and it still blew up in my face. And then at that time I was like, you know what, I can't be here. Like I need to reinvent myself. I need to just leave everything I've known. So at that point, I left everything I knew. I went overseas to Philippines with my daughter and my son. So I was just like, again, I have a habit of doing this. I just, one suitcase and then this time 2 kids.
So
And
one
then
step back, how old were you when you had your second child?
28.
28.
Yeah.
And that was with obviously someone else?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
So he was my best friend since we were teenagers.
Yeah.
And when I came back to Sydney, he was like, oh, Casey's back, but she's got a kid. And then, but he didn't care. Like he proposed to me. And I feel like back in those days, guys had
beautiful.
chivalry. Like they were like if they really loved
Guys
you.
can still have shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys,
I don't know. I've yet to find one because I'm still, by myself. But yeah, he proposed to me and he said, look, I just want to take care of you and Geordie, because he knew I was a teen. And I said, look, I can't just be with anyone because I have my dream. I want to get into uni. I want to raise my son right. I want to get out of Cabra. I want to buy my first house. He said, we can do all of that together. So he promised me that we could do that.
And you did though.
And we did. In the first year, we bought 2 cars. We were just 19. Bought 2 cars. We bought a house in the hills. We bought a $500,000 house at 19,
Wow.
Half of that was in cash back then.
Did you have a relationship with your mum at that stage?
I did, but
Okay.
my mum was kind of sour that I kind of left.
Yeah. Okay.
But she was very supportive. She knew I was very hyper independent.
Yeah.
She just was like I think with my parents, they always knew I was hyper independent.
Yeah.
And if they said not to do something, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm just that type of person. Like if someone says, don't do it, don't touch the stove, I'm going to touch the stove.
Did she ever reach out and say, you've done well, or say sorry maybe?
She always
Yeah.
does. Like
Yeah.
she's like my number 1 fan, and
Okay.
even my dad. When I published my first book on my spiritual awakening, and it's
Can we delve into that part?
Yeah. My mom bought. She's so funny. She bought boxes of it, and she gave.
That's
it
how
to
you got
all her
number 1 seller, because your mum.
I don't know. But she gave it to all her church friends and her
that's
her
cute.
philo community friends. And then because I dedicated to my grandma, her mum, and then
Yeah.
that's why I got that tattoo, which is the Book of Psalms.
Yeah.
So a lot of in my first book, it was a reinterpretation of the Book of Psalms from the Bible. And that is because my grandmother used to read the Bible to me every single day. And when I was going through shit, she would always be like, okay, you're going through darkness now, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. And she would read the Bible to me every day. So that book that I had wrote was an ode to my grandma. It was
Yeah.
because she was really my light when I had nothing,
Yeah.
And my mom, my grandma, she always wanted to be a writer. And when I wrote the first book and dedicated it to her, she was, I think, 94 at the time. So it was a year before she died. Wow. She was crying. She was like, you fulfilled my dream,
Wow.
Yeah. So
what's the book called?
Elevate Book of Psalms.
Elevate Book of Psalms.
Yeah, elevate, as in, rise up.
And there's a second book as well.
And then the
second
second book that I had written was, that was when I was leaving corporate. Then at that time I had...
And this one's, when the time, and you can talk about when you released it, it was very in vogue, I suppose, because it was COVID.
It was during
okay.
COVID, yeah. So, and I was homeschooling my daughter. She just started in kindy, East Donny.
It's stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was at the
Didn't
height
you
of
go to East Donny?
COVID.
I went to East Donny briefly. I went to 3 different high schools as well.
Is that
So
East Doncaster?
He got expelled like 4
Doncaster.
times too.
3 times.
Right.
times.
I
Oh
went
my
to
God!
two.
See, there's a common element with entrepreneurial people. I feel like we're deviants.
You get
I was just a
expelled,
deviant. I
sell
don't know about
drugs.
But
I was
Did you sell drugs?
Some of us are just built different. Yeah.
yeah.
trying to build still.
But I feel like that's what kind of gives you like the ability to get outside of the norm. Do you get what I mean? Because you've
Yeah,
got
you
the
don't want to
balls to do
follow
it.
what everyone does.
Yeah,
Right?
because I was like, I wanted to be a trailblazer all the time. Like I was like, I don't really want to do what everyone's doing.
And this second book.
So the
What is
second
the second book about?
So the second book, so I feel like every time I publish a book, it's at a pinnacle of my journey where it's like a turning point in my life.
Can you
The
post
first-
one now about oil? So
About
well,
what?
I am
About oil?
writing.
You know?
I am writing
COVID,
one now.
you
No,
know?
well, the one that I'm going to be publishing at the end of this year is what I'm going through now. But I've been writing that for 7 years, so I'm very excited to release that one. But the second book was on my journey to leave corporate and build my own business successfully. And that was when I was traveling the world. Bali, I lived in Bali, I lived in Philippines. You know, that's where I kind of found like my calling, you know, because I feel like when there's no noise around you, that's when you get downloads. Like that's when you get intuitive downloads. And I was like, okay, like I'm not going back to the system. I'm not going back to corporate because I'm not doing 12-hour days and letting someone else raise my kid. You know, I'm not going to do that. So like at that time I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, okay, I want, like I'm good at HR, but I don't want to be in corporate. So the next thing was recruitment, right? So, and I heard how much people make in agency and I was like, can't be that hard. So I kind of just like went into it like blindsided. And then I tried and failed phenomenally the first time.
Which we all do as entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But you didn't give up.
Yeah. That's,
No, and I actually before I built this business now, KB Executive, which is one of the top, you know, executive search firms in finance in Australia now, I had tried and failed like being a recruiter and being in agency, or building my own agency 3 times. 3 times. So the first time, I just
You didn't fail, you learnt.
yeah, and then each time I just sharpened it, and I really didn't give a fuck that I was just looked like an idiot. I didn't care. So I actually built the first one when I was in Philippines because my brother has a lot of hookups in Philippines because, you know, he was a football player, a basketball player, and then his wife is like, she's in politics. So, you know, he had connections for me, and some of my
And Manny
friends.
Pacquiao's his best friend, so
Yeah. So, and I feel like in Asian countries, it's easier to make it when you have connections. Do you get what I mean? So,
potentially anywhere in the world,
Yeah.
truthfully.
yeah,
Right, that's
exactly.
anywhere.
And then at that time, my friend, he had a favor bank for me. So he opened up the first Anytime Fitness in Philippines, and that was on the back end of my connection, which it was a guy I was dating at the time, and he was a real estate agent. And then I said,
You have
hey,
a thing for real estate, just by the sounds of
I
it.
don't know. It just was by
I see a
coincidence.
pattern. That's all I'm saying.
she tracks it.
Anyway, yeah. So I was like to my
Sales
mate. So my mate from Anytime. So he went to open up an Anytime Fitness chain there, and he actually sold me my first luxury car, which was an Audi. So he was a used car salesman, and he goes, "Oh, I'm going to go to Philippines, and I'm going to open up one gym." And I said, "Okay, I'll introduce you to my boyfriend at the time, so he can get space for you, like commercial space." Anyway, so that guy that I introduced him, like my mate, he went on to be the biggest franchise owner in Southeast Asia, over 80 Anytime Fitness franchises.
Wow.
To this
Wow.
day, he's one of my best friends. But because I did that for him, he said, "Hey, my auntie runs the biggest executive search firm in Philippines, and she's on the verge of retirement. Do you want to be her successor?" I said, "Fuck yeah." I said, "That would be stupid not to." But I think at that time I didn't have enough corporate acumen because I just had my daughter, and you know, even though I was working in corporate, I wasn't a leader. It's different. I was a worker. Do you get what I mean?
You
I
were
was on the
working
phones.
up the ladder.
Yeah, I didn't have the leadership skills. I didn't have the entrepreneurial skills. So when he introduced me, I was so excited, you know, like I just thought, oh my God, this is amazing. I was telling everyone, I'm going to be the director of a big executive search firm. And then everyone's like, what the hell? You just had a baby and you're like 28. Like, how's that going to happen? And then Anyway, so I tried to make it work and everything like that, but I think for me, I just wasn't mentally ready at that time. And I think when you start your entrepreneurial journey, you celebrate your wins before you got runs on the board. You know that, right? So, and
So
I was
entrepreneurs or real estate agents?
and then
Both.
it's like
They
popping
spend
the
their commissions
champagne
before.
before the commissions have gone into your bank.
They've spent
you
it
know?
already.
And then I was, and then so I was running around town saying, I'm going to be the executive director of this big exec search firm, and I haven't even had any runs on the board. I haven't even closed one exec deal, and I was acting like a head honcho.
It's the old fake it till you make it, right?
It is, and I think that, you know, like a lot of entrepreneurs do go through this journey, but it's like you
Looking
just
back
gotta-
now, do you think would you have done it differently?
Not at all, because I feel like what I did to I took a big bite of humble pie after that, because I burnt through my savings. So after I separated my baby daddy, we went through settlement because we had our properties and everything, and we just split our ways 50-50. I burnt through that savings in 3 years. You know, I was burning through my equity money. I had $500,000 and I thought, I'm a rich bitch, you know, traveling everywhere, luxury holidays. Everyone's like, oh my God, have you seen Kasey? She's traveling everywhere. But I was burning through like my liquid funds, you know, and then I burnt through everything in 2.5 years and I was broke. And I was like, shit, I got to go back home, you know. I've tried this entrepreneurial thing, but I was being a peacock, and I'm like, I wasn't in the trenches and I wasn't mastering my skills.
When was this? What years?
This was in 2016, so it's been 10 years to get here. So by no way, shape or form has it been easy, you know. But after that, when I took a big bite of humble pie and I came home broke, I was like, right, I'm going to go back to corporate and I'm going to sharpen my skills and I'm going to learn how to recruit and headhunt the right way. And I'm going to be the best fucking headhunter in corporate, and then when I make it, like I had a plan. When I make it and when I'm the top biller, then I will leave to start on my own. So when I came back, broke as fuck with a kid, and then at that
Two
time...
kids.
Yeah, two kids. But Geordie was here because he was in high school by that time. So he was with Fang, because I told Fang, I was like, I want to go overseas for 2 years to try this journey out, see how it goes. Anyway, I came back and then broke as fuck. And then I said to my mum, look, there is no way I'm going to go back and live in Craigieburn. You can't make me go live in Craigieburn with you. I need to...
So she moved from Sydney down to Melbourne?
So she was living
So
with
she
my
was with the
auntie.
auntie,
And then I said, there's no way I'm living in Craigieburn. Like, I was so depressed. I was like, how can I get from this high life, traveling the world, buying my first place at 19, making more than, like, you know, bank, and then being broke, you know? I said, please help me because I want to be close to Geordie and I need to be in Doncaster. Can you help me get an apartment there? And then she goes, look, I'm going to get you an apartment there, but you have to go back to corporate, because that's what all my mum knew. She goes, you got to go back to corporate. You're not ready to be an entrepreneur. You got to just, you know, put this thing aside and just be realistic and just make money like normal people. You know, I said, fine, I'll do that. I promise
Normal
you.
people.
Yeah, normal
the masses,
Like, my mom's just like, stop being so ambitious. Like, she didn't say it in a bad way. She's like, honey, you're very smart. You can climb the ranks in corporate.
She just wanted your safety.
She thought
Your
it was
safety
safe.
net.
Yeah, she thought it was safe, you know, be on salary, whatever. And then I said, okay, I'm going to do it. So she got me the apartment in Donny. And again, I think like because I've always subconsciously wanted my mum's approval. Like I didn't want to disappoint her. So I just walked into Randstad. And at that time I was like, just Googled, I was like, what is the top recruitment agency in the world? And it said Randstad. I said, okay, I'm going to go to the, didn't even know who the fuck was there. And then I asked my mum, I said, do you know anyone at Randstad? And then she goes, oh yeah, I'll connect you with my recruiter who placed me in the big bank. And then I said, okay. And then she gave me his name, Slobodan. And then I walked up, I went to, it was at Rialto at the time. And then I said, I'm here to see Slobodan Obradovic. And then they're like, okay, do you have an appointment? And I'm like, nope. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, but he's out in meetings right now. You have to book an appointment. You can't just come here. I said, it's okay, I'll wait. And then they're like, okay, she's going to wait. Mm-hmm. And I waited for like 3 hours. And then he came in. And then he's like, oh, hi, how are you? And he goes, oh, you're Blessy's daughter. I said, yes, I'm Blessy's daughter. You placed her in, in ANZ. And then I said, I'm here for a job. He goes, to work in a bank or to work here? I said, to work for you.
Yeah.
And then he goes, we're not hiring. And I said, I don't care. I'll start on 50 grand. I'll start on 60 grand and I will be your top biller. And then he's like, okay, let me have some conversations and get back to you tomorrow. And then so he went to the head of, and then he goes, this girl just came in. She just rocked up. She wants to work. Can we open up a job for her? They looked at my CV and they saw that I worked in big bank and, you know, I knew broker world back to front because I was working in big bank and I dealt with brokers since I was 18. And then he said, we actually have a spot because they had a recruiter role that no one could do because broker world is so different to banking world.
Like
you know?
cutthroat?
It
was probably very
cutthroat.
new back then.
Technical and
It's
different.
technical, and a lot of recruiters, unless you come from that world or you come from industry, you won't know the technicalities, you know, because there's different aggregators, there's different type of brokers, there's commercial, there's residential, credit analysts, blah, blah, blah. So because I knew all the technicalities, I just aced the interview. I told them, I said, I can do this with my eyes closed because I was speaking to brokers when I was 18. You know, I was doing 100 calls a day. And I was telling them, okay, this is where the loan's at. It's with credit. I was doing all the settlements for home loans when I was 18, you know. So I was like, it's not that hard. Anyway, so they started me on a pay wicket of like, which was so disgusting at the time. But I was like, I'm just going to swallow my humble pie because I came from being the head of HR and I was on like a 6-figure wicket to being on like under 100 grand. And I was like, I don't care. I'm just in it for the commissions. I'm sharpening my skills. And I was paid a ridiculously disgusting base, pretty similar to like real estate agents, you know. But I said, I'm going to be the top biller. So within 12 months, I was the number 1 biller in Melbourne in banking and finance. I got ANZ on panel with us, which they were like, no, we don't do work with ANZ. They don't want to touch Randstad, blah, blah. We got bad relationship. I said, okay, I'm just going to go straight to the head honcho. Whoever the guy is, I just Googled him and then I went straight to him and I said, hey, I want to work with you. And then, you know, it was about like a couple of months of business development, but then I got that account on. And when I got ANZ on, then that was big, you know.
Yeah,
That
the
put me on
billables
the
were
map.
gone through the roof.
That put me on the map. And then we had big projects to recruit all of the lenders in Australia.
Wow.
Over 100. And they built a team under me, everything like that. And then, but then I got sour about it because my boss at the time, he was taking the credit for it, as they do in corporate.
Yeah.
And then he was the one who took all the credit for bringing on the account and then building the team and stuff. And then I was just kind of like in the background. So that glass ceiling in corporate is very real, especially for like, you know, like I'm not going to say I'm a pretty girl, but like women like me, like
Is it
it's a
women
catch-
though? Is it? Do you think it is a? I mean, probably back then more so than now.
It is.
Or is it just the corporate ladder, the dog-eat-dog mentality?
I feel like for me, there was always a glass ceiling because my boss, for example, he just treated me like a peacock. He's just like, you're just a pretty girl that we put in front of the clients. Once you bring the clients in, then you can fuck off. That's
Wow.
how they treated us. Do you get what I mean? And for me, that was so disrespectful. And I was like, you know what? I'm not having this shit. I'm going off on my own. So I'm like, you
There's
know
that
what?
ambition again.
Yeah, I'm like, if you guys aren't going to value me, I'm going to fuck off and I'm going to start on my own. And then I told his boss, I dobbed on him. And I said, you know what? I'd like to see him pull in some clients because if you look at his activity, you will see that he has not pulled one client in and it is all my activity because I'm the one putting all the notes in, doing all the meetings, you know? And he's just like resting on my laurels. He's just, you know? And then anyway, their performance managed him. And then after I said to the senior executives, I was like, look, I want to leave and start on my own, but I don't want to do it without your blessing because I don't want to leave on bad terms. I will give you the big bank clients because I brought in HSBC, I had CBA, like I was recruiting for all the biggest banks in Australia. I said, I'm not going to touch the corporates. I don't want to touch the corporate financial institutions. I give them to you and I take my brokers with me because I just want the small guys, you know, because that's still a good portion. And I built relationships with, you know, Damien. I built relationships. Like I'm still recruiting for them till this day. Do you get what I mean? So I was like, I'm going to segment my portfolio. I'm going to show you what clients I want to keep. And if you allow me, I will walk away and I'll leave your clients and then I'll still refer you business. And then they were like, okay, yeah, you can do that. So the good thing is I left with their blessing, and they knew that kind of I had hit my glass ceiling because I was the top biller already. So I was like, where do I go from here? You know? But yeah, like for me at that time, I was like, I was looking at how much money I was making the company. I was doing something like 100 grand in commissions per month.
Per month.
You know, I was $1 million biller. In recruitment, if you're $1 million biller, like you're like the top 1%.
Yeah.
And my take home was about 10% of that after tax. So I was like, it doesn't logically make sense
Makes
for me to
sense.
stay. You know, if I'm doing everything, I'm doing 360, I'm bringing the clients in, I'm doing everything myself. I'm like, I'd just go off on
Might
my
as well
own.
do it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And like not everyone's made for it. Do
Yeah.
you get what I mean? But for me, I think my ambition was derived from just being a provider for my kids and just wanting more. And I had a ridiculously expensive lifestyle that I needed to keep up with. And I was like, there ain't no way in hell I'm going to be a sugar baby for some guy. So I'm going to have to make it on my own, you know? So
I think one thing that I liked is that you did the simple things that people don't think to do. Like you turned up at his office.
it's the little
You-
things.
Like you just showed up and
yeah. You got to
like,
take your humble
look at what
pie.
it got you, right?
Yeah, and you got to be, and I always tell the girls that work with me now, I tell them you got to do the most monotonous, boring things to become a master. You can't think that you're going to be $1 million biller if you're not in the trenches and doing the little admin stuff.
But you're putting yourself out there. It's not just doing the little things. You're kind of putting yourself out there. and
Everything, yeah. I was doing
Accepting
everything.
rejection. This guy may have never seen you.
Yeah, I was like, I don't care. But I think like the thing, like I said before, the grit aspect, I had been through so much shit in my life. And I was like, at this point, I've got nothing to lose, man. Like I came back. I failed ridiculously in Philippines. And, you know, like I just looked like a complete idiot. So I'm like, there's nothing really to lose at this point, you know? So I feel like when you think of it that way, because if you're always thinking of what other people think of you, you're not really going to get anywhere because you're doing it for external validation. But if you're doing it for your own internal validation or to be like, yes, I did this, I'm capable of this, then it's a different type of like self-esteem. Do you get what I mean? Like for me, the fact that I could do stuff and I could rely on myself, I wasn't relying on no man. I was raising my kids on my own. I went from living in, you know, the ghetto to now having a penthouse across the road here. Like that for me, that's something. Do you get what I mean?
Can we touch on the future? Because you've got a few very exciting projects happening.
I
Got a
do.
book dropping the end of this year. So
Sorry?
your third book is coming the end of this year.
Yeah, at the end of the year.
well as
And
a
then also
retreat in
now
Bali and-
we've
yeah.
just landed, like we're recruiting a few big roles. So
Yeah.
from my broker days when I was like a little pawn in Randstad recruiting like little processes, we have just been given a CEO appointment now to recruit the CEO of FBAA, which
Yeah.
is the biggest organisation for brokers nationally.
Yeah.
So that for me is like a pinnacle of my career because I went from being a nobody and just being on the phones, you know, now recruiting the head honcho that governs the whole industry
Brokers.
in Australia.
You just showed up, you did the little things, and look what it's led you to.
Yeah, so I feel like that for me, like it was really like when we tendered for it, because that was a whole process as well. Like we were against all the corporate giants, you know, like the big exec search firms that have been around for eons and have international presence. And when we tendered for it, because we had to bid for it, you know, and they picked us, I was like, holy shit, like I can't believe this is happening, you know. So, but yeah,
It's a
like I
testament
said,
to your hard work and everything you put in.
yeah, but like I said, like you just take it one step at a time, and then like you just gamify it, and you know you get to the next level and the next level. Like I had no idea I was going to get to this level, that I was going to build an exec search firm that's recruiting friggin' CEOs for the industry that I've served for like 20 years. Do you get what I mean?
But what about your Bali adventure? Can we touch on your Bali adventure?
Yeah, so because I still wanted to keep that spiritual element, and you know, like the travels made so much a part of me, of who I was when I was trying to find myself and my identity. Like I found myself when I know this is so like eat, pray, love cliche, whatever, but I didn't even know eat, pray, love at the time. But when I left my baby daddy and I packed up all my shit and I just like left, go overseas, the first place I went to was Bali. because I was like, something was just calling me there. So I put my apartment on Airbnb, went there, and that's where I really found myself. That's where I started writing every day, and that's where I found my spirituality. I started meditating every day, and then I just felt like very like strong, like mentally, like I felt like it sharpened me as a person. And then so I always thought to myself, when I've got money or when I've got the means, I want to do something in Bali. Like I need to do something there, because that and Philippines, that's where I found myself. And then I came back home here to build my business. So last year, because I've been traveling back and forth there, because my best friend lives in Bali, so I would always stay with her and her partner. And then they'd built a few businesses there. I knew some Australians that had been doing great things, you know, in hospo and entertainment. And I was like, I want to do something here. And because I'm like so obsessed with biohacking and, you know, because I go St. Haven, when I was one of the founding members when it first opened in South Yarra. And I feel like it elevated and changed my life in so many different ways. Like I'm more sharper, like I'm more agile, I think quicker, like my health is like premium. Like I'm nearly 40. I look like I don't know if I look. I was not meant to say how old I am.
I know. That was like one thing you said. You're like, no one's allowed to ask. It's rude, right?
You didn't ask. It was you.
I'm just saying it because it's a flexing, right? So like.
You look younger than me, so
Yeah. Like,
That's not hard though. I'm the eldest here, so I should shut up.
We're not even going to talk about your age.
Yeah, so like it comes back to the biohacking element. So because I was so in love with biohacking and, you know, the longevity piece, you know, since I've been going St. Haven, and I was like, this absolutely changed my life. And it just made me into a sharp operator, very agile. And, you know, like I just woke up with so much energy all the time. So I was like, I need to do something like this. But it's so expensive to start something here in Australia, you know. When I went to Bali last year, I was telling my best friend's partner, because they're opening up some hotels, I said, you should put some like biohacking facilities in here, because it's all the rage in Australia, because they've got day clubs there and everything, but everyone just gets fucked up. And I was like, this is stupid. Like you go to Bali.
Retreat.
Yeah. So I went to one of the retreats. So the founder of K Club, Alban, he's this French guy, and I met him because my girlfriend was dating his mate. As you do. So they invited us to the resort. And then when I was there, we saw like empty space, and I was like, you should do biohacking facility here in Longevity. He goes, oh my God, we've been thinking about that, you know, because they know that everything is on the wellness trajectory. Like it's a whole movement now. Peptides, you know, biohacking, all this stuff. And people that are kind of approaching our age now, they want that accessibility to something that's going to keep you
It's definitely a movement these days. It's become such a big thing, and I think people are just, you speak to so many people and they're always talking about peptides or certain things they're taking. And
it's the norm now, you know?
Yeah.
It is a norm.
Yeah. So
if you care, you know.
Yeah.
It does wonders.
So I just found an opportunity there, and I think
And we're in the early days of it. Imagine
Very
what's going to
early.
happen over the next decade with it.
it's you know what, it is a
We're all going to grow a third arm or
multi-billion-dollar
something.
Live to
Turn into Hulk.
Yeah, and then I started researching, and then I saw that a lot of like Aman, Six Senses and stuff, they're all kind of pivoting to the whole like biohacking, luxury wellness and stuff. And I told my girls in Bali, I said, you know what, we should do this. Like some of my girlfriends live in Bali, and they're all like super, super fit and healthy. And I said, why don't we bring this concept, like St. Haven, because I was showing them, like, this is what I do every day, hyperbaric chamber, red light, this and that. I said, why don't we do it in Bali? And then they're like, well, we wouldn't know the first thing about setting up this business and, you know, whatever. I said, look, let me deal with all of like, you know, the resort owners and do partnerships with them. So I spoke to the French guy at K Club, you know, and then we went to GDAS. And so the owner of GDAS is, I don't know if you guys know the Def Jam, you know, the Def Jam producer. Anyway, so he owns it. What's his name? I forgot his name.
Def
No,
Jam.
Def Jam.
Def Jam.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, so he owns GDAS. So he owns like a big rap label, like with Snoop Dogg and stuff, you know. You know Def Jam Records? The founder of it.
Yeah.
So he owns GDAS. And he does a lot of biohacking and stuff, but they just don't promote it. Like it's very like under the radar, you know, like it's just because it's very high-end luxury, you know. You're probably looking at $500 to $1,000 a night there. But then I approached
With
him.
everything included.
With everything, yeah. So, but I think that this is what a lot of like founders and stuff, they go there. And then I was like, okay, like maybe we can kind of build a business around this.
Capitalize on it.
Yeah. So spoke to a few of the resorts, and then I said like, look, we have a big following. Like me and my girls have big following. Like a lot of people, like they know that we do biohacking, everything like that, and we want to endorse these retreats in your facility. Will you allow us? You know. So so K Club, they said they wanted us to partner and build the biohacking facility. So we are now on project with that, and that is going
Kind of
to be
worked out
finished.
because you're K with Kasey with a K as well.
Yeah.
That's nice. Good synergy there.
Yeah. So that's a project that we're developing, and that's going to be finished in September.
And it'll be
We're in Bali.
Ubud.
Okay.
and
Yeah.
from my understanding, it's like a day club for biohackers.
It's a day club for biohackers.
So instead of drinking alcohol, you're drinking juices.
Yeah, but it's,
Instead of pool time, you're in the
in the
infrared
sauna
sauna.
time.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. So and
Sounds
then,
hot.
and then the concept, and the concept of this is as well. It ties into my book Wealth on the Beach, because I wrote that book when I was under the concept of I want to be able to travel anywhere in the world and just work remotely and just you know. So this concept kind of amalgamates everything, like basically my love for everything, you know. Working remotely, longevity and biohacking, you know, luxury wellness, because I like my bougie resorts and stuff. So with the new business venture that I've got in Bali, that puts all of that together.
Your journey.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should all do a trip.
Yeah, I
there
know. I was going to say
Yeah.
podcast
well-
in Bali.
Yeah, so the first retreat that we are going to be hosting is called Founders Reset. So it's targeted towards founders that want to reset, you know. So it's not rocket science, Founders Reset. So, you know, going there, but like everything like full elevated. We've got peptide researchers coming in, educating on different peptides. You know, we've partnered with all of like those guys, you know. So it's a whole like wellness ecosystem. Really to help elevate founders to get from this level to a high performing level.
Yeah.
You know,
And
because
probably avoid burnout, stress, all that stuff.
well, that was what I was going to allude to, is because you guys have probably gone through it too. Like you go through this, you're in your own rat race, you know?
Yeah.
And for me, I was just like on this wheel that has no end. But every time I wanted to retreat and detox and rejuvenate, I would either go to Bali or Philippines, or I'd go to some luxury resort. So the concept that I've created with my girls for this one is basically to replicate my life of what I've been doing, you know? So, you know, like if you're feeling burnt out, we have, it's a white glove system. I mean, it's a white glove service for like as soon as you get off, like it's private jet service, you know, like chauffeur bringing you to the resort, you know, and you go through this whole amazing journey. And you've got educators, you know, that come and talk about, you know, like the psychological aspect as well, like with you know, mindset reset. So we've got like a lot of key speakers coming in and educating our founders to get from that level to like that level, you know?
Sounds awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Kasey, you sound like you've got a lot on your plate. Is there any other things you want to finish on that you want to share?
No, well, I think, I was very excited to come on with you guys, and I'm very...
Oh, thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank you for
joining.
joining
So
us.
good.
Yeah.
Like, what a story, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
from drug dealing all the way
From-
to...
It was I hardly call selling like weed drug dealing.
Well,
It's drug dealing.
Selling joints
by
here and
definition,
there. Grass.
it was moving substances. All right. But you know what? It's amazing that you were open, honest about it, and it made you who you are. And I think there's, you know,
done well.
an incredible journey there. I think we covered like nothing at all. I'm sure there's so much more to you, and it was
Yeah.
really great
Very
to get
A lot
to
of
know
layers,
you.
onion.
Yeah, literally. Massive onion.
Well, next one in Bali.
Yes, September.
I would love to invite you guys.
I thought I was
love
already
to come.
invited.
And then we can have
Just make sure the private jet's ready, all right?
Can yoga come?
We need the team. Yeah. So, but yeah, no, thank you so much for being here. Like, we had such a great time. We'll definitely get you back on and dive into more of the recruitment stuff, because recruitment's such a big thing as well.
It is, yeah, it is, you know, and I feel grateful and fortunate that we have been in part of some of the most amazing stories of the come-ups of some of the startups that we've helped through to the big banks and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yellow Brick
Dive more
Road, you
into
helped Mark Burris, my understanding as well.
Oh yeah, Mark Burris, yeah. So YBR helps grow Yellow Brick Road.
The GOAT.
Yeah, the GOAT.
Yeah.
So I was working with Mark for 3 years. Hired all his broker franchise directors. So,
That's a cool way to finish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get Mark on here one day.
Yeah,
So,
good.
yeah, well, we've got a contact now.
We do.
Got the
But yeah, thank you
connection.
for being on Someone You Should
Thank
Meet.
you, Casey.
Casey, we
Thanks,
definitely believe
Casey.
you are someone you should meet. So
Thanks
we're
so
looking
much,
forward to
guys.
sharing your story.
Thank you.
Thank you,
you.
Casey.
Thanks, Casey.